Hi, Mr. Horned One is such a brilliant episode of Two and a Half Men. I feel like this is easily one of the most memorable episodes, and it's actually the ninth top rated on IMDb of every episode, so pretty impressive. This is the sixth episode of the third season of Two and a Half Men. It's directed by Gary Halvorson, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts along the way. The whole thing is absolutely brilliant. It starts off with Jake in the kitchen talking to Isabella. She's played by Jodi Lynn O'Keefe, and Isabella has a very gothic appearance, and one might describe her as being rather satanic as things develop in the episode. And she is, of course, Charlie's, I was going to say date, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but she's sleeping with Charlie, and Alan tells Charlie that when Isabella's not in the room, he tells Charlie he thinks she's a bad influence, doesn't want her around Jake. And then Alan is in the bathroom shaving, and Isabella appears behind him to confront him for saying she was a bad influence. And he's very intimidated by her. I don't blame him. She has a very threatening presence. I think the performance is absolutely fantastic, and there's definitely a strong mystery about her. And she leaves the room. Alan, I think, initially doesn't think anything of it, and then he cuts himself shaving, and again and again and again, and then off camera we hear Isabella laughing to herself, and Alan thinks that she's put a curse on him. Alan is briefly on the phone with Evelyn about a costume party. This does become relevant later on. And then once he's off the phone, Alan tells Charlie, I think Isabella put a curse on me. And Charlie's not really buying any of this. He goes to a party with Isabella, and he's surrounded by a bunch of women, and they take him into the altar room to be anointed, and they start chanting. And because he's very drunk, he's not really thinking anything of this. He's kind of quite happy and going along with it. The following morning, Alan goes into the kitchen, and his eye looks really, really bad. He looks awful. I think the makeup here is fabulously done. And we have an exchange with Berta that's quite delightful. And Isabella then comes into the kitchen. And Berta tells Isabella to tell Charlie to get up out of bed so she can make the bed. And Isabella approaches Berta and tells her that they're spending the whole day in bed. She says a few more words than that. And it is terrifying, so much so that Berta puts her jacket on and leaves. She's not sticking around. If Berta is intimidated by the situation, I think we all need to be concerned. And as I said, I think the performance is just incredible. Charlie is now affected by this as well. We have Alan with his big puffy eye and his scabby face, and Charlie looks so pale. He looks wonderful. I think the makeup is fabulous. His hair is kind of sticking up a little bit. Absolutely fantastic. And initially we don't know exactly what happened that evening at the party, but then after a minute or two, he lifts up his shirt and there's this bright red pentagram on his stomach. Not a good sign. They're going to confront Isabella to find out what on earth has gone on, and she's in the sitting room, in the front room, praying to the Lord of the Underworld with Jake. Now, she can do what she wants, but I think involving Jake is a step too far. I do think it would have been good for Alan to overcome his fear of Isabella in that moment. She was involving Jake in something that he really shouldn't be involved in, particularly at his age. And I feel like Alan should have, well, I would have liked to have seen him at least try and stand up to her a little bit more. He basically tells Jake to go to his room, so he's more so communicating with Jake rather than Isabella, and I think that would have been a good moment for Alan to at least temporarily be brave in front of Isabella, but that's not completely the direction they went with. And it's actually Charlie who tries to confront her and find out what happened, tries to break up with her, and she's not having it. She is going to put a curse on him, and Charlie doesn't want that because it will affect his manhood, and it looks like they're going to be together forever. And then somebody's at the door, and it's the Wicked Witch of the West. It is Evelyn dressed in probably my favourite Two and a Half Men costume for the costume party, and Holland Taylor just looks fantastic. And it turns out she knows Isabella from Pilates, and she basically tells Isabella to back off, and obviously Isabella does, and that's the end of that. But the ordeal isn't over, because the boys still have to go to this costume party, which Evelyn mentioned earlier on in the episode. Well, Alan mentioned it on the phone to Evelyn, and they all come out one by one. Jake, then Alan, then Charlie, all dressed in identical flying monkey costumes. And we just spend the last minute or so watching them pretend to be in the Wizard of Oz, and then we end with the most beautiful laugh and cackle from Evelyn as the Wicked Witch. Absolutely fantastic. Easily my favourite 2.5 Men costume. She just looks amazing. The dress is absolutely stunning, and honestly, I'd wear it. I would wear that dress to an event. It is gorgeous. Really enjoyed this episode. As I said, I feel like it's easily one of the most memorable, one of the most iconic, with some really fantastic performances all round. Hi, Mr. Horned One is a fabulous episode of 2.5 Men, and it really deserves that high rating. It really is brilliant.